Shalom, can you hear me?
Shalom, I can. I'm going to take you off the speaker first.
Okay.
It's just weird, you know.
Yeah, I think you froze. Yeah, I think your screen froze.
Okay.
All right. Okay, all right, so you know my name, Ron, and I go by Swazi Media.
Swally. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let me just do one last thing, because I was going to go with the ones I sent you, but I say, you know what, let me go a different route. So that's why I sent you the extra scripture. So we're going to start at Judges. Give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Give me 1 second. So it's not going to be every verse, you know, for the sake of time. For the sake of time, it's going to be maybe 3 verses, then maybe, you know, 1, 2, 3, then verse 8, but it's all in context. So nothing is missed. So I just want to I want to add one more thing. So we're going to do Judges 8.
Judges 8.
Yeah. And just going to. Okay. So it doesn't. Okay. All right. I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay.
So there's a lot of doctrines that's being shared, right? That's being talked about, and it seems like they're all being recycled. Like people talk about the same things over and over and over, but this book is very huge and it has plenty of stories in there, and they're all are equally significant.
Yeah.
But people bounce around. Maybe it doesn't fit their particular doctrine. I don't know, but I do know we read about Tamar. We read about Ruth. We did a lesson on Bathsheba. We did a lesson on Rahab. We did a lesson on Mary and Elizabeth. So I was going to do on Hannah today, but I said, nah, that's next time. So we can start at Judges chapter 8, verse 30. This is in regards to Gideon.
And sorry, 8 and 30.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the wrong scripture. Okay.
And then stop at read 30 and stop.
Okay.
And you can also see my screen. So I have it on my screen as well, if you want to use that, because I got it real big.
Okay.
So this is I got the KJV.
KJV is the one I use, apart from the Sefer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, when I'm looking at this, 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives, many doctrines, and he had many active principles within those doctrines, being sons. And concubines are like, you know, like not the main wife, not the main doctrine, but there to bring fruitfulness in terms of bearing sons, you know, like active principle. And I think you need to look at like the name of Abimelech to see what that principle action, do you know what I mean, that came out of that concubine was.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, it always goes, doesn't it, like you know, you had these wives, these wives, these wives.
Right.
And then it, you know, it says Gideon was dead. Then the children of Israel turned again and went a whoring after Baalim, other gods. Yeah.
Right. So we're gonna actually read that because
that's all about doctrines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you might know that, but the people listening to the you know, to the word might not know that. So that's why you got to first start off with doctrine, and then, you know, you take a deeper look into what was being read.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you might be familiar with this, but other people, trust me, are not.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? Like the actual precepts of.
You said the what?
The actual like sort of precepts when I'm reading it, it's like it's just gotten deeper. I feel like I'm still on, like I'm being weaned onto meat. Do you see what I'm saying, rather than milk?
Yeah.
So I mean, I would have read it before in a literal sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's start. So let's do a literal sense for them that are still on the milk.
Right.
Okay, so let's read it for them first.
Okay.
So 30.
Yeah. So Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten. So from Gideon himself, 70 sons. How many is that? What's 70?
Okay.
That's enough to be significant, because that could be 70. And I think that could relate to the 70 different, like the 70 nations.
70 elders. You wouldn't think
70. It could be 42, but it's gonna mean something.
Okay, so let's find out.
Score. How much is the score? I should know this. I'm a Londoner. We go, I've got a score. I think it's 20.
I would have thought 30, like right off the bat.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it real fast, okay, and come back.
No, so no, you were right with the 70. So it's actually 70.
Okay, right.
So let me share my screen.
Okay, where am I? Come on, man.
So right over here.
Okay, Zoom again. Here we are. Yeah, thank you. Brilliant. 70 sons of his own.
Yeah.
For his many doctrines. Okay. So Gideon.
All right. So
that's what that means.
But what's important here is that it said that he had 70 kids and he had many wives, right? So he was into polygamy, or they say polygyny. He was big into that. All right. Now, 31, what does that say?
And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bore him a son, whose name he called Abimelech.
Right. So out of all those sons, it focused on one above all. That's what we're looking at. Okay.
So these 70 sons, they would probably be the active principles, like maybe when originally, like they're now fallen, but the angels that were placed over the nations. So it's almost as though Yah's already carving out himself the 71st tribe, which is us.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
His concubine, because the concubine was in Shechem.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Concubine.
So why do some people pretend like concubine is different than wives? Do you see them in one and the same?
Control. I think that's control issues, personally. And inheritance issues. Yeah, because with concubines, they tend to get a different type of inheritance.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go 32.
Okay. Gideon on the son of Joash died in a good old age and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash's father in the Fra of the Avi Ha-Ezraim.
Okay, all right, keep reading.
And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Yasharel turned again and went a whoring after Baalim and made Baal Berith their Elohim.
Okay, so I want you to look at my title.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, because when people think of harlot, for some reason, they only think of women.
Yeah.
When we just read right here, it said as soon as Gideon died, as soon as he died, they played, Israel played the harlot.
Yes. Yes.
Well, horn after after a whole new God. So Baalim and made, okay, that's interesting because you're not free from your husband.
No, exactly. You're not.
Unless your husband is dead. So if the Father, if the Most High, whatever name you give him, is their husband, he didn't die. It was Gideon who died.
Yes.
Right. And they said, oh, that's good enough. That's close enough. Let's find a new husband. And they found the God Baalim.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. So they were in fornication at that point.
Right. They was guilty of a lot of things there.
Yeah.
So now read 34.
And the children of Yasharel remembered not Yahweh Elohim, who had delivered them out of the hand of all their enemies on every side.
Forgot all about them. Right. Now 35, the last verse.
Neither showed they kindness to the house of Urabah, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Yasharel.
Right. So what do you get from that?
They became enemies.
Mm-hmm. Amongst themselves?
Physical enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Of what was left of the house of Gideon, which would have been Abimelech.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the theme is the harlot. So because there's interesting, we read about Tamar already, and we'll do it again, who played the harlot. Then we read about Rahab, who's the actual harlot. And Pete, like some men of Israel is having difficulty. They're struggling with these women because they were named in the lineage leading up to Jesus. And they're trying to justify, because like, I guess in their heart, they hate harlots so much. They're trying to justify how is two harlots named or supposed harlots named in the genealogy leading up to Jesus. So now they're trying to act like these women were never harlots.
Right.
But we see Israel right there. So I don't know how they justify.
But they're taking it in the carnal sense, in the physical sense. If you look at it like in terms of fornication, harlotry and fornication in terms of different doctrines, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's another way you can fornicate. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, you can't bring. That's the thing. It's like you have to accept that woman means doctrine, daughters, sons, offspring, offshoots of doctrine. Do you see what I mean? Once you've established that, then you can read them with those sort of precepts in mind. Because it's really funny, because it says, right, Abimelech, straight after in 9, it says Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren. And the mother, you know, like when we have children, the father is responsible for like all the physical things, making sure the child eats, as a home, has a name, has an inheritance. But the mother is responsible for the mind and the heart, which is it's basically like teaching the child the doctrine. Do you see what I mean? The spiritual development of the child. So it's really telling here that Abimelech went to his mother's brethren, like you know what I mean, to get that, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother, saying, "Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it's better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you.
Right.
Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh." So that's saying that they have got, that he's holding the doctrine of his mother, which would have been the concubine, right?
Right.
So she was kind of grafted in.
That's an interesting outlook.
Yeah.
All right. So let's stay in Judges. Let's go to chapter 19. It's funny because Judges got a lot of these harlot stories here.
I've got some stuff to say about like concubines.
Yeah.
Like the difference between a concubine and a wife is that a wife will have like a portion, and then she will, you know, allot it to her and then her offspring. So she shares that with her offspring, yeah? A concubine and lives in the husband's house. Concubines often live away. Like they've got a little bit more independence, if you see what I'm saying, a bit more on the outskirts. They're not, so like you go to see your concubine rather than
they come home to her.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's interesting. Okay, so now let's go to Judges. Like I said, they have a whole bunch of harlot stories here. It's very funny. A lot of whoredom stories in the book of Judges. So let's go to Judges 19.
Okay.
And we're gonna read about more concubines. So start at verse 1.
Okay. Okay. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Yasharel, that there was a certain Levi sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Beit Lechem Yehuda, so the house of Yehuda. And his concubine played the whore against him and went away from him unto her father's house. To Beit Lechem Yehuda. Oh, sorry, do you want me to stop reading?
No. So I want you to get some feedback on that.
Okay. Right, there's no king in Yasharel.
Right, just judges.
Traveling on the side of Mount Ephraim. So are we talking about somebody that came in from the outside, like?
So we have a Levite, it looks like, going into the territory of Ephraim, it looks like. So we'll read more about that because we're going to finish the whole chapter. But what do you think about verse 2? No. So we know he took a concubine as well, right?
Yeah.
So he took her out of Bethlehem, Judah. And what do you think about verse 2? That she played the whore against him and went away from him. You know, she kind of just left.
Okay, so they had different doctrines. And she went back to her father's house, like the doctrine of her father.
So what was interesting is this, because you would think that if a man had a concubine or wife and she played the whore, that he would be done with her, right?
Yeah.
Okay, read verse 3.
But he followed her, right? And her man arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her.
So he didn't hate her.
Nope.
No, she played the whore, but he still had love for her, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's speaking to her.
Right.
again, I think that alludes to doctrines rather than actions. To bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses.
No profanity.
And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him.
So she brought him,
home,
the Levite, right, home to her father's house, right? And she's also known as a damsel, correct? And the father rejoiced to meet him. So the father, okay. Now, what's interesting is that what the father's called. So verse 4, the
father-in-law.
Okay, the damsel. So wait. The father-in-law. And that's the damsel's father. So they're married.
So now they're married. Yeah.
Okay. So after she did all that, played the whore, you know, he said, nah, you know, I thought you can't make a whole housewife, right?
He went after her, didn't he, to make her his wife,
right,
and speak friendly to her.
He had no ill words, because, you know, there's other chapters where, you know, men might say harsh words to a woman like that did those actions that they were engaged to, espoused to, whatever. Okay. So, okay, so you can finish reading 4 and 5.
And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodge there. So there was loads of learning and teaching going on there. Right, during that 3 days. And he also rejoiced to meet him.
Right.
So I would say that his reputation would have gone before him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a Levite. Yeah. Because don't Levites usually marry Levites?
Yes.
Interesting.
But what I think, do you know what? This concubine out of Bethlehem Yehuda, the house of Yehuda, there's something in the house of Yehuda, isn't there? At this point, anyway, Samuel, Shimon, you know, at these times when the house of Yehuda has still got some elements of really good doctrine. Do you know what I mean? That they're just slaying everybody else with at that, you know.
But she could still be a Levite.
She could.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So verse 5.
Okay. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart, and the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and afterwards go your way.
Okay, so I want to point out something. So he became the father of the Levite when?
During the 3 days of eating and drinking.
Right, but what established he's the father-in-law? What action established?
A covenant, a marriage.
Right. Yeah. So now her father, the father of the damsel, becomes a father, because if you take out in-law, it just says father, right? Father.
Yeah.
Okay, and it says in-law. In-law means what? I guess the law of marriage, right? So he's a father by way of marriage, and now the Levite becomes the son.
Yeah.
By way of marriage. So when there's a marriage, there becomes a new father, new son, new daughter, new mother. You got mother-in-law and daughter-in-laws.
Yeah. New teacher, new student, new doctrine, new offspring from that doctrine.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so read 6 and 7, and then we'll skip to 9.
Okay. And they sat down and did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man, be content, I pray you, and tarry all night, and let your heart be merry. And when the man rose up to depart, his father urged him Therefore, he lodged there again.
So the father don't want him to leave, right? So now look at verse 9.
And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draws towards evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day grows to an end. Lodge here that your heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way that you may go home.
Now, verse 12, we're going to skip down, bump down to three more down, and verse 12.
Can I just say that I was thinking that the day draws towards evening, like every time there's darkness or nighttime, like it's spiritual slumber. And he's trying to get him to eat, like learn something for his heart to be merry. So I think that he's trying to give him doctrines as the father. Now he's trying to feed him doctrines that will make his heart merry. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because, you know, like the heart and the mind, right? You know, can go against you. And I think all of these references to nighttime, like it's like they get to a certain point in their conversation where, you know, it's daytime and they're talking in the light and they're talking in doctrine, then it gets darker and darker and darker. And instead of him leaving, he's asked to stay.
Right. That's interesting.
But it says but the man would not tarry that night.
Yeah, because he had him stay for so many nights in a row. He's like, you know what?
I'll do, yeah.
Yeah, let me get out of here.
Yeah, I don't want a vacant sandwich, thanks. Yeah, I've just lost my spot. Hang on. And came over against Yevuk, which is in Jerusalem, and there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him.
Okay. And what verse was that just now you read?
10.
Okay, so we're gonna skip to 12, right? Because this is a long chapter. So we're gonna do 12, 13, then we're gonna skip to 16. So let's do 12 and 13.
And his Adonai said unto him, We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Yasharel. We will pass over to Givah.
Right. So they didn't want to go into the stranger's land. So 13. So that's why it looks like she could possibly be Levite. Okay,
Exactly.
13. Yep.
Exactly.
Because they don't want to go to the stranger's land.
They're not supposed to go in and give this doctrine.
Right.
To, you know what I mean, to strangers, really. And he said unto his servant, Come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Givah or in Ramah. So they choose, don't they? Like if they're going to be in spiritual darkness, they don't know what's going on at night, or they're vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Like all the things that night kind of represents. Givah and Ramah obviously had some sort of safe element.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see why that is, really, like who was there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to 16.
Okay. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at evening, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Givah. But the men of the place were in Bin Ha Yamini.
Okay, so they were Benjamites. Okay, so now we know who he met, right? He wanted to meet some of his brethren, some of the Israelites. Okay, so.
Oh, yes. Because earlier on, you know, like when you said read 1 Samuel.
Right.
It said that the 3 sons that Binyamin, Yebusim, which is like sons of Anak, Giza, Ashkelon, and Ekron, that they still dwell with Binyamin to this day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It sounds as though they were trying to avoid the doctrines of Giza, Ashkelon, and Ekron, like the do you know what I mean? Like the sons of the doctrine of the Anak. Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah, it's good thought. That's something to meditate over.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to jump to 20. So now he met they came across an old man, right? So now let's go to verse 21.
Okay. See, because the old man was like obviously preaching, wasn't he? You know, his work in the field. And he comes in like when it's nighttime, like when he can do as much as he can do, you know, that day sort of thing. Like no one's receiving this now. Do you know what I mean? It's time to stop talking or whatever. So I think that would be like coming in from the field because it's night.
Yeah.
What did you say? Go to 20?
Yeah, 21.
So he brought him into his house and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink.
So this is the old man. The old man brought them into his house. Okay, so we could read on down 22.
Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about and beat at the door and spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring forth the man that came into your house that we may know him. Yeah.
Now, are you familiar with that? This is like another Sodom and Gomorrah story.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this one?
No, not actually.
Yeah, this was a surprise to me when I read it. I said, whoa, so we have another Sodom and Gomorrah issue going here. Okay, and you'll see like the same details pretty much play out. Okay, read 23. This is going to be similar to what happened with Lot and the two angels.
And the man, the master of the house, went out unto him and said unto him, nay, my brethren, nay, I pray thee, do not do so wickedly, seeing that this man is come into my house. Do not do this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seems good unto you. But unto this man do not do so a vile thing.
Right. So this is familiar language with what happened with Lot and the two angels, right?
Yeah.
Very similar. Okay, 24. All right, it's going to get raunchy. Okay, 24.
Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do to them what seems good unto you. But unto this man do not do so vile a thing. See, fathers or men, I don't know, I mean, they're saying don't pollute the original doctrine, aren't they? They're saying, you know what I mean? Like, here's some other offshoots of, do you know what I mean? You could do what, you know, tear them up, but like, where not almost like, not an image bearer, but do you know what I mean? Like the bearer of, like the seed really of the truth or the doctrine.
I'm following.
Okay, I just read 25. Okay. So basically, I think he's done quite stupidly. Okay, so the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her, and abused her all night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go.
So it looks like, in order for that to happen, it looks like they were hell bent on knowing the Levite. Okay, yeah. Like, so they were not going to leave until they know the Levite. So he said, hey man, take the concubine, you know, and do what you want with her, because you guys are not going to leave this Levite man alone. Yeah. Okay, so and then they abuse her all night, Interesting, right? That this is not for kids. This is PG-13 right here.
Yeah.
So they abuse her all night and then they let her go.
Yeah. So at
What's
nighttime, in spiritual darkness, isn't it? So they basically took the concubine, you know, like she was grafted in. She brought him to her father's house. He's tried to sort of change, like you can see that there's elements of spiritual darkness still there, like where she comes from, as it were. So I think that's saying that the Levite in this case had the true doctrine. Do you know what I mean? But when he allowed the concubine, like his woman or his doctrine, to be abused, because now she's a wife, isn't she? She's, well, no, they're calling her the concubine, aren't they?
They're still calling her concubine, but we know that we know that she's the wife because he's called the son-in-law and father-in-law of her father.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to like where they were surrounded.
What verse?
22.
Okay.
Right. It says, as long as they were making their hearts merry. Does that mean like maybe doing their own thing?
Making their hearts merry. Where we at?
22. Yeah.
Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, within the city, now be set down. All right, let me get what other Bibles will say about that. Let me see. Other translations would say. Yeah, I'm not even sure what that phrase would mean. So that's 19 and 22, right? So I'm gonna show other modern translations. Let's see if we get some understanding from over here. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let me make it smaller. Okay, that might be too small. So it says, so we have the NIV says, while they were enjoying themselves, it looks like making their hearts merry means enjoying themselves. And that's another way to enjoy yourself. Yeah. Another one says celebrating.
But that's going to have some spiritual context, because in 21, it says it gave food to almost to the doctrine, the asses, the ones that were bringing the doctors, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. Because they've been eating and drinking, it's a spiritual thing. And it's as they were making merry, their hearts merry. I'm just wondering if there was something that they were transgressing in that.
It sounds like they were excited. That's because, okay, so when you read down, because we skipped from 16 to 21. When you read in between, so read the part where we skip. Read 16 all the way up to that point, so we can get a better.
Okay. Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah. So wait for me. Wait for me to get there. Okay, hold on. So we can fill in what was missed. All right, so we're at, okay, there you go. You can read 16.
I got it. Right, okay. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at evening, which was also Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Giv'ah, but the actual men of the place were in Bin-ha-Yamini. Right, so isn't that Benjamin? That they were in the places where Benjamin was also living next to the sons of Anak with their doctrines?
I'm not sure. Bethlehem, Judah. I'm not sure.
Because Okay, I'm going to read the next bit. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, "Whither do you go, and whence do you come?" And he said unto them, "We are passing from Bethlehem Yehuda towards the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I."
Let me see what that is.
Be with them, right?
Okay, so it's a city in Judah, birthplace of David. It's known as the House of Bread.
Yeah. I think what this is saying, okay, is that this old man, he's an elder, he knows what he's doing, he goes out, he does his work, he does his, teaches the scripture. That he was also from Mount Ephraim, so he probably was also a Levite. But again, you've got this issue with the men who should have been at home with the Levite, where they were in the tribe of Benjamin. They've gone there.
Right.
Then he meets this sailor, this seafarer, and that's because the sea means men, doesn't it? Like people, men. Is that right?
I'm not sure what else, possibly, because sometimes it's used for that.
So it could be that this guy knew loads of people. Do you know what I mean? And then it's got back to certain sons of Belial that were in Benjamin, and they've come to his house to beat down his door. Because with this Levite there, and himself with his concubine, it seems as though they want to come against what's happening there. Do you know what I mean? In terms of doctrine, and they've come there specifically to do that.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so Bethlehem, Judah is a place called the House of Bread, city in Judah, birthplace of David. Okay, so now we look like Judites, Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep reading.
Yeah, brother, when it says like our enemies are going to come from like amongst us,
right? Yeah,
it's always been that, isn't it?
Always, right? That's the best. That's the best enemy.
Yeah. Because like the woman arrayed in scarlet and purple. So if you look at if you say the doctrine arrayed in scarlet and purple, we've got a huge number of like brothers and sisters that are like brothers specifically that are like arrayed in purple.
Yeah.
That are Judah, right? That are coming out of Judah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I know we were talking about making their hearts merry, right? So I think they were just very gracious that, they was looking for somebody to take them in. They were confident that a brethren of theirs would take them in, so they won't be tarrying all nights, times and days and nights of the day all days and nights. So let's do 22 again up to 23.
Okay. Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men.
Wait, no. That part where we covered. We was talking about. Let's go 24.
Okay. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine.
Let's go back to that.
So basically, this old man's daughter So he's mature, isn't he? He's a mature in the word, or mature, you know, the way. And he's had offspring. He's had a daughter. Do you know what I mean? And then, so he was going to give up. He gave up his daughter and the other man's concubine.
Here's my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Right, them, he said, both them I will bring out. Yeah. Now, and humble ye them, and do with what seemeth good unto you, but unto this man do not so vile a thing. Right, right. So he took them both out. Wait, let's see. So 25 says, but the men would not hearken to him.
They're the men, they can give the seed, they can breed. Do you know what I mean? They can like continue the doctrine. Do you know what I mean? They can like carry it forward. See if they can have another daughter. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting that they were going to take out the man's daughter, the maiden, and the concubine. But verse 25, that only brought out one.
Yes. Right, they so didn't want this guy's daughter.
Right. So read 25. Let's hear that one.
But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go.
Right. So they didn't want the man's daughter.
No.
They were interested in the concubine for whatever reason. Okay, now.
Because she could carry the child. She's going to carry the child. She's also going to be the one responsible for the mental and spiritual nurturing, like for providing the milk for the baby, for the doctrine.
But every time I read a situation like this, it never produces offspring.
No, it doesn't. Even though she was raped all night, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't read offspring coming from that.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to bump up to 26. Actually, we're not bumping up. We're reading the next verse, 26.
Okay. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day and fell down at the door of the man's house where her Adonai was till it was light. And her Adonai rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house. Ooh, and her hands are upon the threshold.
Okay, so I want you, so we got her back. She fell down the door of the man's house. Okay, till it was light. Now read verse 29. Now, wait, no. Keep reading up to 29. Okay, go ahead and read up to 29.
Okay. So basically, like, I think the threshold, you know, like blood on the threshold, like on the lintel and the threshold, that's what that's making me think of. Like a protection. Sorry. Did you say go 7?
So you read, what verse you read last?
Okay, 28. And he said unto her, up and let us be going. But none answered. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up and got him into his place. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coasts of Yasharel.
And last verse 30, and then you could tell me what you think.
And it was so, deed done, nor seen from the day that the children of Yasharel came up out of the land of Mitzrayim unto this day. Consider of it, take advice, and speak your minds. Right.
So what do you get out of that? He took a knife.
We're supposed to share the pieces that we have within the tribes.
Yeah, because he did say 12 pieces.
Yeah. There was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Yasharel came up out of the land of Mitzrayim, so out of bondage, and unto this day. Consider it, take advice, and then speak your minds. So, yeah. Ooh, divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coasts of Yasharel.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But what's interesting is that we're told to like think about that, consider it.
Yeah.
And then talk about it.
Right.
You know? So there's something, isn't there? I don't know, there's something that we all need, that like maybe you've got and then so-and-so's got something else, and you know?
Yeah.
But I do think it's the tribal thing. I think it's all 12 of us have got pieces of like the concubine, right?
Apparently.
This is good. I'm enjoying this.
It was definitely 12.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So last book. This one not gonna be that long. Go to Hosea chapter 1.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to read it? Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Wait, I didn't hear you. What?
Sorry, brother.
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. I said, did you want me to read it? Read it.
Yeah, verse 1. Hosea chapter 1, verse 1.
The word of Yahweh that came unto Husha, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziyahu, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah. That was really butchered.
Hezekiah. Now these names are
Hezekiah. Oh right, Hezekiah. It didn't. My brain wouldn't just accept that. Of Yehuda. So Uzziyahu, Jotham, Achaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehuda, and in the days of Yavraham, the son of Joash, king of Yasharel.
Okay. Verse 2. Look at this one.
Okay. The beginning of the word of Yahweh by Husha. And Yahweh said to Husha, go take unto you a woman of whoredoms and children of whoredoms. This is what Yahweh said.
Yeah, what kind of woman?
Get unto a woman of whoredoms.
Hosea a prophet? Is Hosea a prophet? Hosea's a prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what else?
And children of whoredoms, for the land has committed great whoredom, departing from Yahuwah.
Okay, yeah. and he's talking about Israel. Israel committed great whoredom. So he's like, oh, y'all might as well marry one.
Yeah.
Because y'all the biggest one. Israel's the biggest whore.
Ooh. So we've got to be careful, haven't we? Like, even which prophets we listen to. Because there's a lesson in there, isn't there? Like for each one, you know, like in terms of like, okay, some of them like pass the test and some of them don't. Do you know what I mean? They mix it up.
Well, that same test is extended to us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because you got a lot of doctrines out here, a lot of doctrines. And now that test is put on on us.
Yeah.
It's a lot of crazy stuff being said, and it's being taught as the actual word, and some of us are believing it.
Yeah. To be honest, like I say, you know what I mean? I think I'm just moving from milk to meat. And do you know what? When you see everybody in purple and like, militant and whatever, it does. It's like, there's a part of us, obviously, do you know what I mean? The part of us that's been basically in captivity and we want to go home.
Right.
That we're looking at them like, okay, they're our saviors. Do you know what I mean? But they're not.
Right.
We can never win that way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so he commanded them to go take a wife of whoredoms.
Yeah.
Read verse 3.
So he went and took Gimer, the daughter of Divlaim, which conceived and bore him a son.
Oh, so he had a baby by who?
Gimer, the daughter of Divlaim.
And what was her status? Her status as a lady? Was she virtuous? Huh?
She was a whore.
Yeah. Interesting.
We should go and have children with it, and produce more.
Right.
With this woman, with this whore woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Yahweh said unto him, call his name Israel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Israel upon the house of Yahoo, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Yasharel. Ooh.
Mm. 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 Okay.
What does his name mean? Israel.
Let's find out. Jezreel. Let's find out. I'll tell you right now. Let's find out.
Israel.
Okay, so the name means man, I didn't take the long route. I still got it. Okay, God sows, like sowing seeds.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
So for a little while, call his name Israel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Israel. So he knows he's going to die. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I will avenge the blood of Israel upon the house of Yahoo, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Yasharel. So he basically used Hosea, Husha, to break the bow of Yasharel. Or is he basically just saying that when you mix your doctrines, or you go and sleep with whores and want children with them, doctrinally, that he will give you over to that? He'll say, go do it then. And he'll break the bow. You know what I mean? He'll break us in front of Israel, basically. Do you know what I mean? In front of the ones that are sowing the strange doctrine. The whoredoms. Wow. Do you want me to carry on reading?
Yeah.
And she conceived again and bore a daughter.
Another kid, huh?
Yeah. And Elohim said unto him, call her name Lo Ruchama, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Yasharel, but I will utterly take them away. Wow.
Her name, Laura Hama. I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel. but I will utterly take them away. Looks like somebody's mad here.
Yeah. So basically, with the first child, he's going to break the bow of Yasharel.
Mm-hmm.
And with the second deviation from like his way, it says, I'll utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Yehuda and will save them by Yahweh Elohim, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when she had weaned, lo Ruchama, he conceived and bore a son.
Very nice.
Then
Got a boy.
Yeah. So something that can like seed that next part of the doctrine. And then said Elohim, call his name Lo Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your Elohim.
Damn.
Whoa. I'm surprised he can do it up. I'd be petrified, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how that chapter ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last of that. After that, it gets worse. You know, a lot of the Most High started to really rain on them after that. Chapter 2, if you go past that, you'll start to see Israel was in trouble. Yeah, so it go ahead.
I was just having a sort of like my eyes just went over like 2, and it says, plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my woman, neither am I her man, therefore let her put away her whoredoms out of her sight and her adulteries from between her breast and her heart, lest I strip her naked and set her in the day that she's born and make her as a wilderness and set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. No like truth, no water, no life. And I will not have mercy upon her children. So basically, she's saying to the one who's nurturing the heart and mind, not the provision. It's not the statutes, is it? It's not the structure, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't the father like the foundational?
Yeah.
And the female's more
nurture.
Nurturer, points of law. Do you know what I mean? How to get there, or how to stand upright. You know what I mean? Like the man might say, this is the doctrine, we're going to stand upright, but the woman shows you how to do it, or helps you to do it.
Yeah, help you stay dedicated. Help raise you according to it. But
but she would become his wife. It's almost like in that it's like she's choosing not to. Do you see what I mean? Like,
which verse you want?
On 2, sorry.
Okay. You want chapter? You want chapter 2? All right. Hold on. So let's get there. Chapter 2. Hosea.
Okay, so basically she's got some respectability, like she's covered, she has oil and wine and clothing, you know what I mean? She's got some sort of respectability by association, but like Yahweh saying, you carry on doing that, I'm going to come and take away any blessings from you, all these coverings, you know what I mean? So it's going to be obvious that you are not my wife.
Right. Yeah, you are sent away, or put away. As they say when they divorce. right? With your papers, with your
But
divorce
he
papers.
didn't have to do that with her, because remember, he went to say, go and get yourself a whore woman.
Yeah.
Even though he got the whore woman, like, she could have chosen to, like, you know what I mean, to bring her children forward in the way, because she obviously knows that. Do you know what I mean? It's not like she doesn't know, because she's still eating and drinking. Oh, you know, no, sorry, she's eating and drinking from her lovers, but her covering, like the wool and the flax and stuff like that, and the oil, that's Yahweh. But that's almost like the covering, right? You know, like on the outside, she looks like one of us. Do you know what I mean? But like, she doesn't walk in that way, the same way as we do.
She definitely had kids. Yeah, chapter 2 is interesting here.
Because Yahweh's done, not like, he doesn't talk to her directly. He says to the man, talk to your wife, talk to your, you know, your the woman. Yeah, she's not, speak to your mother, please, for she's not my woman, neither am I a man. You go and talk to her. I don't, you know, he doesn't talk to her directly, does he, Yahweh?
No.
So he cautions the man to fix up his doctrine and make sure that the children are walking in the right way before he takes the blessings away, they're covering away. Do you know what I mean? And they're exposed.
Yeah, so this is, so Hosea actually took on the whore, right, and had kids. And then chapter 2 is going into Israel, right? He's talking to them as though that they are involved in this whoredom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he got some strong words over here.
Yeah, I was just going, oh. Yeah. Have you ever felt the fear of like Yahweh, brother?
Yeah, I think we all experienced that once or twice or more, you know.
For me, it just came out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? I was praying, you know, like, you know, in that, but bam, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then he took it away, just, you know, like all away. Mm-hmm. And it is a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was going to say, for me, this was a lesson reading from chapter 1 of Hosea. This was a lesson for like people who are quick to judge other people based upon their conditions, right? Yeah. And this is why he most like continuously reminded Israel to not hate strangers because you were a stranger. Don't hate this because that was you. Don't hate that because that was you. And don't hate, you know, whoredoms because you were playing the whore bigger than anybody. But you'll you'll look around and you'll see the same people pointing fingers in spite of all that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's like there's no kindness, is there? Do you know what I mean? Right. There's no empathy.
But that's the point of Jesus, because that's what people miss. It's like, why do you think he was here? He was not here to kill you in your sins, like how you always die. He was here to save you from your folly, right? Because Israel, they died in their folly. And then it got so childish that people will want you to die. Like they'll catch you in the wrong, and man, they'll snitch on you so fast just to cause harm upon you. You know, so Jesus, like, all right, we got to stop using the law for death. Yeah. All right.
You know what? When I first, because I didn't talk to anybody at all, for like a couple of years. But then when I did, and I've got to admit, I was really wild. Like really wild, you know what I mean? Like, my language still is quite bad sometimes, right? but yeah, I'm so glad that he kept me away in a way, because I think, because I used to say to him, you know, like, where is everybody then?
Where was who?
In Shabbat, well, you know what I mean? In the feast and whatever, it's like a party for one. I was like, where's everybody else? And I'm really glad now that he kept me away, because it's so multi-layered, multifaceted. The types of, like, I don't even think I don't even believe that they're all deliberate deceptions. I think it's like errors in spirit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that lead you to, like, or errors that, like, in your development, do you know what I mean? Or unhealed stuff. So like a load of people are like feeling really, I mean, it's normal. We're angry. I want to go home. You know, but they're, and like I say, so like somebody like IUIC,
right,
they're heroes, right? They're like, wow, do you know what I mean? I mean, and then you look at it closer and then you start thinking about the doctrine of, like, Mashiach, like who he was.
yeah.
And you think, would he have an army dressed up like kings?
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, yeah. The more you start reading the Bible, the more you start saying, wait a minute.
yeah.
What part of the Bible is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but everybody kings.
But you can get stuck in that, can't you?
Well,
it's like in a political space.
Right. Well, they all get stuck in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all get stuck in it. And this is why they start to send other people to replace them.
Their doctrines don't evolve, do they? It's like they've come out.
They've been teaching the same thing. They've been teaching the same thing since the 80s.
Is that going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, that particular doctrine. So you got different, you got, every doctrine has a date. So if we talk about the Jehovah's Witness, we talk about the Mormons, Catholicism, like they all their doctrines have a date. Yeah. So you have different Israelite doctrines and they all got a date. But the one from Israel United in Christ, their date is somewhere between the 80s and 90s. It's very recent. But there's no evolution, it's like how you keep, this is normal. If you read something over and over and over, you're going to see something different. Yeah. After a while. Yeah. But if you keep seeing the same thing for 40, 50 years, you might need to check. You might need to go talk to somebody neutral and say, hey man, like what do you see? Kind of like how Acts 8:29 when Philip asked the Ethiopian eunuch, like, yeah, do you understand what you're reading? Yeah, sometimes you need fresh eyes, and I explain it this way. Businesses, they get an audit, right? The audit, because you might think your books are fine. But the auditor will say, oh, man, you owe $2 million. Your books ain't fine. You're horrible. Yeah. And I think people should have that auditor, that spiritual auditor, and visit them once every so often to, like, to be fresh eyes on their doctrine. Sorry. Like when you're talking about IUC, it says, so I'm just like, she didn't know that I gave her grain and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. This is what I'm reading as in my you're talking. You can see this in my. He says, therefore will I return? When he's going to return and take away my grain in the time thereof and my wine in the season thereof. And I'll recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness. And now will I discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of my hand. And this is interesting. I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Shabbat, and all her solemn feasts. And that's what those are their doctrines, isn't it? Like the feast day, new moon, Shabbat, solemn feast. I mean, I think I saw them doing Purim or something like that. So they're like letter of the law, aren't they? Rather than that. Well, you can see it. You can see it. It is more telling you what you shouldn't do, kind of pointing fingers. And that's why I say there's a lot, like just now, what we just read, right? We read Judges chapter, was it 9? We read chapter 19, and then we just read Hosea 1. Now, were you familiar with Hosea 1? Hosea marrying a whore?
I was familiar with it, okay. But I'm not, sometimes when I read things and I don't go through them with someone else, so I'm pausing and listening to that. Do you know what I mean? It can go and just, I don't know. I haven't read it in the light of my understanding of certain words meaning certain things. You know what I mean? Like being a way of communicating an idea. I read it literally. I would, I was reading things literally, okay, and any sort of insights or breakdown would be like either direct, like from the Ruach, but the rest was like very literal, and I think why that's changed like quite significantly is again the Ruach, because I think I'd started to sin. Yeah. I think I'd started to take on the spirit and the energy of like anger and things like that. From like looking at the ones that are sort of saying, like you can't be saved and you're dead and you're a piece of shit, and like
I don't know what doctrine is that. Here's the thing. When they talk like that, you ask them where they're reading from, and it's never the gospel, right? Or Paul's letters. Like, okay, do we accept the Messiah or we don't? Because we don't quote him. When we have judgment scriptures, how can we never quote the Messiah?
Yeah.
Like he tells you everything was written for his sake, but we don't. And then he comes in the flesh and speaks, and we don't quote him.
When I first started hearing them, I was really upset, right, with them. And just in my mind, I could see, like, I used to call them Aarons and Miriams. I think I got that obviously from the Ruach, because I don't, I do read, but like I quite heavily rely on my father, actually, because I trust him above myself and my own understanding. But yeah, Aaron and Miriam, it was like, so Zipporah, she was a concubine. She was somebody that had been brought in. She was,
we're gonna talk about that later. Yeah, so that's what we was gonna speak on today, actually. So it'd be a part 2 of this to close this one out. Yeah, so you're gonna do a spoiler alert. Yes, so we're gonna talk about that later. So today, just for the record, today was not a call where everybody was supposed to join. This was just really a flat out lesson, right? Just one reader and everybody listening, and we talk about it later. But tonight's call, it'd be more for people to join and, and have more of a Bible discussion. But today was literally just a lesson that we'll archive and people can watch it back.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Yeah, like, inviting me. I really.
Yeah, of course. So I don't want to make this too long, because once somebody see the link and they see the videos like 9 hours, they're not going to watch it.
No.
But if they see something, a little less, they might check it out. Okay, so I will inbox you. I'll keep in touch with you on Facebook, and I'm going to close this one out, and then we'll talk and we'll get together and figure out some more scriptures at a later time. So everybody else who came late, just refresh your browser and catch it from the beginning. It's very enlightening. And thank you, sis, for reading. Shalom to you and shalom to the chat.
Shalom. See you soon. Thanks, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.